Good fucking morning!
Rich Piana here with a new episode of Svarter by the Day, my black metal show, motherfucker. So it looks like this week we're supposed to be listening to Fenriz's black metal side project called Isengard, but for some reason we appear to be listening to a Darkthrone track instead. Definitely one of the more folk music influenced Darkthrone tracks though, so I guess that makes sense. Oh wait, I'm remembering something. So this track is called Quintessence. It's the second to last track off of Darkthrone's Panzerfaust album. But in another one of his folk music projects, Fenriz, the main guy behind Darkthrone, reused riffs from this particular track in a more folk metal context. Behold! That sounds like the same riff, but with some keyboards added to it, right babe?
Wow, Rich, I'm surprised you picked up on that. I didn't know you were such a black metal connoisseur.
I had a lot of time to familiarize myself with true Norwegian black metal. Well, I've been in the pits of hell after my wife killed me, right babe?
So yeah, that was from Storm, their first and only album, Nordavind, which was part of this multi-pronged attack that Fenriz made on folk metal in the mid-90s. He did 2 Isengard, as he pronounces it, even though I think it's actually supposed to be Isengard, but whatever. He did 2 Isengard albums, he did 1 Storm album. This week, we are primarily going to be focusing on the Isengard stuff because I think it was very influential in all of the Volkish metal scene that's around today. But I thought we would hit up Storm a little bit too. So, that riff you just heard definitely sounds like something Darkthrone would play, but the transition it makes out of that reused Darkthrone riff into folk music is definitely rather surprising for the uninitiated. So yeah, we're in black metal territory. But wait, there's more!
Wow, that chick had the voice of someone that I'd like to get to know a little bit better, right babe?
That was actually Kari Rutelsen from The Third and the Mortal doing guest vocals on this album, which was primarily composed by Fenriz from Darkthrone and Satyr from Satyricon. But that little folky riff had a little bit more in common with Satyricon's early work than it did with Darkthrone, so kind of a cool meeting of the minds in that respect. But let's back up. Who the fuck is this Fenriz guy? Well, he's sort of a black metal sage nowadays. He's like the OG Darkthrone guy. So the main mind behind one of the major Norwegian black metal bands of the late 80s and early 90s, well known for dropping some knowledge bombs on all the metalheads out there.
Look, big sunglasses, not emperor sunglasses, big sunglasses. Very important. Always big sunglasses, cool band.
But in addition to his black metal exploits, he had a lot of excess inspiration across varying genres. He had a Klaus Schulze Tangerine Dream-esque project called Neptune Towers. He was in a classic doom metal band called Valhall. And he had Storm in Isengard, because he was very big into Volkish music. So, Isengard is a band with 2 albums, but they're really more like compilations of various ideas that were in his head. In addition to the folk music stuff, you've got bits of thrash metal, a couple of regular old black metal songs, some dungeon synth pioneering works, and a bit of Pentagram and Black Sabbath inspired doom metal, all recorded at various times and then compiled into the 2 albums Vinterskugga and Hustemorka. Hustemorka is one of the things that actually got me into Darkthrone when I was a young kid. All I knew about folk metal was like Fintroll or whatever. And I heard Hostamorka, which means autumn shadow in Norwegian, and it kind of blew my mind, so to speak. Okay, this part coming up here, this is interesting stuff. The scale that this particular music phrase is written in, I think must be some sort of Norwegian folk music scale, because I've heard it used by Satyricon and Isengard and a few other bands whenever they're trying to make it folkish. It's very similar to a harmonic minor scale, where on the second to last note, right before you hit the octave again, you move it up a half step, so the end of the scale and the beginning of the scale are only half a step away from each other, which gives it a slightly darker feel. And then this part coming up here is interesting theoretically too. So this riff here is they're on the octave note of that minor scale going down, and then they jump down to that half step note to play the same phrase. So it's kind of weird. There's a few black metal bands that do that kind of trick. The other one I can think of off the top of my head is Emperor and I Am the Black Wizard. And obviously the vocals are very folky, and the production is raw as shit, because he's got like 6 layers of stuff going on only 4 tracks. So he's like mastering the guitars and the keyboard on like the same track. It's very complex stuff. It hits that same dark note as its resolution on the. So it's folky, but it's also dark, and I don't know if that's specifically a trait of Norwegian folk music or just something that Darkthrone, and to a lesser extent Satyricon, did. But I heard that track and I was hooked. You know, I can't really get into the happy Corpaclani bullshit, but I like that stuff. Very nice. This album has about 3 tracks of that folk metal, 2 tracks that are kind of little, weird little segues. I think Fenriz calls them folk dittis, and then 2 tracks of pure black metal. So here's the 3rd folk metal track. Give this one a listen. This one's called Over Skende Udemur, which I think it means like across the fields and over the moors or something like that. It's a very spooky hammer horror type shit. This one's notable for the prominence of the bass guitar. It's a big influence on how I play bass nowadays. It's very big, fuzzed out ambient style with little melodic flourishes here and there that kind of dances around the main melody instead of just providing the root notes, similar to stuff that Geezer Butler did on the old Black Sabbath records. Obviously, Black Sabbath was a major influence on Celtic Frost.
Ugh. Sounds like he's trying to take a dump, goddammit.
So, this song is mainly that opening mid-paced phrase and then that more melodic stuff kind of going back and forth until you get to a lengthier bass exploration about 2/3 of the way through the track. So pay attention to what the bass is doing here. The guitars are also very influenced by Candlemass, the old Swedish doom metal band. Very melodic and involved bass playing. Cool little staircase riff there on the bass. So that kind of bass playing wouldn't really fit in Darkthrone, but it fit in Isengard, and it also fit And Dødheimsgard, which was another Norwegian black metal band that were contemporaries of Darkthrone. The two vocalists from that band actually guested on this particular Isengard album, and in return, or perhaps maybe they were all just hanging out at the time, but for whatever reason then, Fenriz plays bass on the first Dødheimsgard album, doing very similar stuff. Check out that melodic bass playing. In fact, in this track, at least during this part, the bass is the lead melodic instrument, and the guitar is more there for ambience. I should do a show on Dødheimsgard someday. They're a pretty underrated band. Or rather, their later stuff, where they got very avant-garde and pretentious, is very overrated, and then their first two albums, where they were actually an interesting band, are underrated by the big stupid black metal scene at large. But what are you going to do? However, I don't want to give the impression that Hustemorke is the only thing Isengard did of note. Vinterskugge also has some really cool stuff on it. For instance, we have some interesting clean guitar work on a track called Nagelfar, which is named after the ancient Norwegian boat of the dead, made out of the finger and toenails of dead humans that's going to be sailed around at Ragnarok. Fun times! Good song name! More good bass playing right in the intro of the song, doing that same Norwegian folk music scale. Check out that clean guitar stuff going on. It should be in your left speaker channel. And then also note the droney keyboard that kind of emphasizes the beginning and end of each phrase. And some truly desperate sounding vocals from Fenriz. He did everything in this band himself except for the guest vocal spots from Kari Ruthless and Vikotnik and Oldkron and various little songs. But yeah, that whole trumpet combo with the clean guitar there would be very influential on folkish black metal. For instance, on the first Kampfar album, we have a clean guitar section that goes a bit like this. So they've taken that idea of the Isengard clean guitar, distorted guitar interaction and expanded upon it in terms of how complexly that counterpoint thing gets, you know? You can also hear that Isengard influence in the melodic bass playing. Now they're going to layer the clean guitars in a pretty interesting way. Watch this. That's the good shit. Makes me want to go burn down Lindisfarne again. Anglo's on notice. So, more attentive listeners might recall, I was also talking about those kind of synth drones and trumpet noises earlier on, used to highlight the beginning and end of musical phrases. Kampfar picked up on that, on their second album, with a song called Troll og Oddtrodom. The instrument you are hearing now is called a lure. It's a really big, kind of alpenhorn looking thing that is an important part of a lot of pagan stuff in the Nordic regions. Certainly a bit of Isengard influence there, but take it to the next level. Kampfar is another very underrated Norwegian band that no one really talks about. But lest we think that all of Vinterskugge is just folk metal stuff, like I said, there's also death metal and thrash metal, doom metal, all sorts of things going on. For instance, we have a very goth rock influenced track called Storm of Evil toward the end of the album. certainly a bit of Sisters of Mercy and Fields of the Nephilim going on here. Check out those goth-ass keyboards. Fucking dank, dude. I told you I lost my Cobra drops on the hard drive.
The only thing I lost when I died were my supplement sponsorships. Right, babe?
It's catchy stuff, man. I sense thrash metal incoming. So really cool thrash-influenced riffs in the middle of this goth rock song. You're only going to hear that kind of shit in Isengard, which is why I cherish these two albums so much. Runoff pipe for Fenriz's excess creativity. And he had a lot of it to spare. You know, I think saying execute right before a Slayer-style thrash break is that's a pretty cool thing. I got nothing bad to say about that. Should have been a ride cymbal. Very Dave Lombardo influence. So yeah, that's the mosh part. Can't believe I still have to point these out to you. But yeah, that about does it for Isengard, which is how Fenriz pronounces it. And that's how I'm going to pronounce it, although I'll probably slip up and say Isengard sometimes. Whatever! I guess it's time to get back to the regular show. Until next time.